Join, share screen.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And share screen.
Yep. Right now, if we go in there, Zoom is on top. All you need to do is click join, and then yes. I was like, what? Yep, that's the theory. Nah, I'm good. Hi, how's it going? For the not just I need you to do this because I can't walk back to the room in time.
So I'll stand here.
Yeah, just for the moment. Salmon Room, please be sure to unmute when you're ready to open the meeting.
Hey, Michael, can you hear us?
Stuck behind a train.
I can now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
On Kristen, she's good.
You live?
Yes, we are live.
All right.
I'm sorry.
Welcome to the June 30th, 2022 meeting for Shasta Regional Transportation Authority. Can we have roll call, please?
Good afternoon, everyone. Almost happy July. We will start with Board Member Commenti,
Here.
Thanks, Mike.
Member Rickert,
Here.
Board Member Jones,
Here.
Chair Browning,
Here.
Board Member Mazzano,
Here.
Board Member Schrader, Board Member Watkins.
Here.
Great, thank you, everyone.
Excellent. All right, item, Pledge of Allegiance.
The flag is over in the corner. Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. All right, sir, can we have staff introductions?
Yeah, happy to do so. So Sean Tejan, Executive Director here at SRTA. I'll do staff introductions. Online, we have Amy Lindsay, our Administrative Associate, and also Associate Transportation Planner Michael Cooker, helping make sure our meeting is running smoothly here. Here in the audience in the office, we've got Senior Transportation Planner Keith Williams, Senior Transportation Planner Jim Collin. We have Senior Transportation Planner Kathy Early. And a new face to the group today is we have Associate Transportation Planner Kimiko Taguchi. She comes to us from Trinity County, has had a couple of years of experience over there doing a variety of stuff, RTPA work, as well as helping oversee some transit-related activities in their service and even airport activities as well. So she just started here. She's been here less than a week. So we're looking forward to bringing her on board. You might notice also there is a familiar face missing. Dan Wayne has left, and he put in his 2-week notice, and he is now in Utah. So he's moved to Utah to do planning over there and move a lot closer to family and everything. He spent about 16 years of work here at SRTA, doing lots of work for us, grant writing, helping with getting a lot of different projects, affordable housing, sustainable communities projects, and other activities, leading programming activities here with OWP, as well as the Regional Transportation Plan. So he will be sorely missed. We wish him the best of luck, but I know he's excited to work on some new stuff over there where he's at in Utah.
Awesome.
So that is all we
Welcome.
have.
From all of us.
We have a couple more over there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Who else?
Cupcake girl.
The audience also is Kathy Gray and Brenda Caruso from Caltrans, District 2. They are planning liaisons.
Awesome. Well, welcome.
Oh, okay, great.
All right, we'll move on to public comment period. This is the time set aside for citizens to address the board on consent agenda items on matters not on the agenda within the jurisdiction of the board. By law, the board cannot discuss or take action on matters not on the agenda, but may schedule an item for a future meeting. Do we have any of those? No? None? Perfect.
Anything online, Michael?
Mr. Merrick's not there.
Yeah, really.
No, not at this time.
None from here.
Can't even run our board meetings and came out time.
All right, we're going to move on to the consent calendar. All matters listed on the consent calendar are considered to be routine and will be acted upon by one motion. There will be no separate discussion for these items unless good cause is shown prior to the time the agency votes on the motion to approve.
I'm just going to comment on 511. I think it was good, Sean, that you took care of that where we were going to make you pay income tax. And you don't have to do that, so good job.
Yes, agreed. Absolutely. All right, do you have a motion at the same time?
I will move that we approve the consent calendar.
And I'll second
Mary
that.
seconds.
Oh, I beat you.
Okay. Did you get that? The first and the second?
So we have Greg and then we have Mary.
Yes.
Great.
Thank you. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing none, that passed unanimously. Thank you.
Oh, we need a roll call vote.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Go ahead.
All right, roll call vote for the consent calendar. We have Board Member Commenti,
Yes.
Board Member Rickert,
Yes.
Board Member Jones,
Yes.
Chair Browning,
Yes.
Board Member Mazzano,
Yes.
Board Member Schrader, and Board Member Watkins.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. We're gonna move on to the regular calendar. Item number 6, the executive director's report.
Thank you, Chair and Board. Just a couple of items to highlight. First, I want to congratulate the City of Reading on their 2022 California Transportation Foundation Award. They received an award this last year for their Downtown Street Circulation Project. It was awarded the Local Street Project of the Year Award. It's a very prestigious award. It's very competitive here in the state of California to, one, get nominated and get through the nomination process, and then also be able to receive that award. The Downtown Street Circulation Project was a public-private partnership that revitalized Reading's downtown area, helped restore the downtown street grid into facilities that can be used by users of all ages and abilities. And it also created a space for community events. A big part of that was possible through the Affordable Housing and Sustainable Community Grants received. And SRTA's involvement included providing regional planning funds to support technical services, to study transportation, circulation, and parking needs for the surrounding area, as well as its connection to regional corridors. So we were very pleased to hear that Reading received that award. Some of the other project partners did as well. So on our little shelf, we have this nice little glass award to match us with it that we'll be able to have on our bookcase here. So very happy to see that Reading's project was awarded. It was very transformative to the community. It's a great space to be able to go for a lot of different activities and stuff, and we enjoy that. So kudos and props to City of Reading on their award. Just a quick update on Beach Bus, just to kind of give you a sense. We definitely had strong ridership return for that service. Just to give you an example, June of last year, we only had a total of 110 riders in the entire month so far, and the month of June is not completed this year, and we're already at 228 riders.
Wow.
In terms of response. So definitely lots of people getting out, using the service. Whiskey Town is also supporting folks and going out and thanking them for riding it. It's definitely lots of folks going out there, and they've even seen it have an impact to making for parking a little less of an issue out there as well. That was a great thing to get a little bit of an update on this past week.
Hey, question. What do we do to promote that?
So Jen probably actually can provide a little bit more info about that.
We actually help, let's see, a couple things that we did. We've got the City of Reading trash compactors, you know, those ones that are out there. We've got signs on, I think, maybe 4 of those, and they rotate, so they're not stagnant. We were in the rec guide, the Reading rec guide. We partnered with Healthy Shasta to get the word out, and they emailed right before the end of the year, principals to get the word out. So, and I think that what we're seeing is quite a few teenagers riding the bus. So, like organized groups riding the bus. We did social media posts, and we did a couple of those and promoted them as well.
Okay.
Have you thought about contacting the YMCA or Y, just to, because they have a lot of teenagers that spend time there, and maybe they'd be interested in being part of that too. Like, no?
They are, YMCA is part of Healthy Shasta, so they would have gotten.
They got
that
it already.
partnership. They should have gotten it through that.
Okay.
But it doesn't hurt to reach out again. I will say we have to be a little careful. They, the 1020 bus, when it got to Buenaventura last Saturday, they had too many people and they had to bring in a second bus. And that was the first time that's happened. We're thrilled. But we have to figure, like, if it happens again, we're gonna have to figure out how to deal with that in a more permanent situation. Because these are, the way that we got it to go through with the National Park Service was to use the smaller vehicles. So these are not 30 passenger, 35 passenger vehicles. They are 12 and wheelchair accessible.
Good, thanks for the update.
Thank you. Thanks, Jen. Probably a couple of things you've probably seen a bit of a discussion about in terms of transportation funding. For instance, there's been discussions or introduction about potentially reductions to the federal gas tax holiday. That seems to not be going anywhere yet, even though President Biden has announced it. Most members of Congress on both sides of the aisle appear to not be really in favor of that. So we'll see if anything on that happens to take place.
Well, does 18 cents really do anything?
Yeah, well, and,
They even have to pass it on.
Yeah. He raises it $3 and wants to give back 18 cents.
Yeah.
yeah, for us, we keep an eye on that to see how that impacts funding for federal funding. So the last we saw was if things were proposed, the proposal was to still keep the highway trust fund solvent. Was so any loss of money from the gas taxes and we, backfills with other federal funds, from general funds in that respect. So we're keeping an eye on if anything does take place, if something does change on that, whether that may or may not impact any of our future funding, down the road.
I know, but my point is that when they relieve a tax, the gas companies necessarily have to pass that on to us.
Right.
So do we actually win? Probably not.
Or.
But we do lose at SRTA. Yeah, that's right.
Right, yeah, so that's something we keep an eye on to see what may or may not happen. I haven't seen anything yet announced, but supposedly the California 2022-23 budget may be approved sometime today. We know the state legislature approved the budget late last night and sent it to the governor for a signing. From a transportation perspective, there's a few key items. One is there's about $3.65 billion in money for transit intercity rail capital program projects. Part of that does include efforts with a high-speed rail effort, in Southern California through Bakersfield. But a really important aspect is the next couple of years. So in that in the funding bill for fiscal years 23-24 and 24-25, there will be approximately $2 billion a year for transit capital projects. The allocation it will actually use population-based formula funding. And it has a minimum guarantee of $300,000 per region, the way that is set up. So with the funding mechanism, we're anticipating it will flow to our region similar to the Low Carbon Transit Operations Program funds, which is through the Public Utilities Commission. The code that they reference, we call it 99313, and that goes to regional agencies. So it goes to the regional transportation planning agencies and transportation commissions in each county or region. So that will be something we're waiting for details to confirm exactly what the final amounts are and what's signed. But that means we may at least be getting some additional money to help with funding transportation projects for the region. So that will be encouraging. So we'll have more once we have a little bit more of an update of what those details will be over the next couple of years.
What's the time frame on that notification?
My guess is probably within the next month. Now, once the budget's signed, we'll be able to know the specifics. And CalSTART and a couple of the transit aid organizations across the state are really good at providing the details and updates, and then kind of doing usually a rough cut. They'll give us a rough cut of what we could anticipate for the region. So we'll know here probably shortly. Also, there was an additional $1 billion towards active transportation projects. So this would bode well potentially for the projects that our region submitted in this last ATP cycle. But I won't discuss a whole lot there because that's a future agenda item that you'll hear a presentation on. There is also $3.5 billion for zero emission vehicles and charging and fueling infrastructure, which $100 million of that is specifically for transit buses and infrastructure. So I know Reading Area Bus Authority as well as SRTA will be having to look ahead in terms of transit services, converting fleets to zero emission, whatever that is. So there'll be
Right now the deadline's 5 years, correct?
So 2026 is when 25% of vehicle purchases must be zero emission. By 2030, 100%, and that's the current requirement. State could always change that, and we might have to adjust. It's already kicked in for the larger transit agencies at 100% already. There are ways that we can receive credits to delay that, so that way we have more time to be ready, especially from an infrastructure perspective. So both RABA and SRTA will be working on some plans over the next year to first kind of do early planning of how to anticipate complying with that requirement over the next few years and everything. Does not mean that our fleets will have to convert to zero emission 100% by 2030. It just, the current requirement is that it'll be 100% of vehicle purchases after that date. Unless you have an exception where you can say, hey, that type of vehicle doesn't exist because of terrain, weather, mileage requirements, et cetera. So there are some other options to ask for delays in meeting that requirement. I think that's all I had on there in terms of updates for today.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. All right, we're going to move on to item number 7, recognize former Executive Director Dan Little for 27 years of outstanding service to SRTA upon his retirement. And is he online?
Michael, is Dan on?
He should be coming up as a panelist momentarily
All
if he
right.
turns on his camera and unmutes himself.
I talked to him earlier today.
Hi, everybody. I can unmute myself. I can't seem to get my camera working off of my phone. Michael, unless you have any ideas. Otherwise, we can go without.
I do not. If you're not seeing the camera button on it, then I'm out of ideas.
Okay,
Just so we're
just
clear,
as
that's because you're on the beach.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
almost. I can see you guys though, and it is great to see everybody, especially staff and board members. Hi, Keith.
Thanks, Dan, for joining. So we wanted to be able to formally recognize Dan. He has spent 27 of his 30 years in public service here at SRTA at the agency. It's special to me too. I mean, he gave all of us a chance that are here today, but I know I got to have a chance to intern here as a college student, showed up and said, hey, do you have any work maybe? I'm interested, and had that opportunity. Dan has been instrumental in coordinating a lot of projects in the region for the area with all of our partners of the cities, the county, Caltrans District 2, various partners across the North State. Some key projects that I think we all can recall is Dana to Downtown, South Reading 6-lane, the Reading Anderson 6-lane project, Disputes Interchange, a variety of active transportation projects for all the jurisdictions. Also, providing support money for the City of Reading's 2 affordable housing stimulus communities grants to revitalize downtown. We provided data support for Shasta Lake when they worked towards getting their grant application as well for funding. He also oversaw the transition of SRTA to an independent agency and helped leverage many, dollars to the region. I think I calculate at least over $250 million in leveraging money from here, from federal and state funds for all of our regional corridors, for bike and pedestrian projects, for public transportation projects, infill housing. We even had a project to get trees to replace the fire back behind Turtle Bay when there was a fire out there and for urban greening. So Dan has contributed greatly to the region over the years, and I know we want to be able to recognize him. And so those are just some highlights I wanted to share, and then I'll hand it over to Barron.
Thank you, sir. Well, Dan, I'll just read this so you can know, and we will mail it to you so you can hang it on the outside of your trailer. Congratulations on your retirement, presented to Dan Little. Thank you for your 27 years of dedicated service at the Shasta Regional Transportation Agency. The Shasta region has benefited from your leadership in addressing the transportation challenges over the years. Enjoy your retirement. So now more than ever, there's always time for one more cast. Enjoy. And we'll get that mailed to you, Dan.
That's great.
And
Thank you very much.
Give us the beach address.
Yeah.
So now I can't believe that he was 27 years on SRTA because it wasn't Shasta Regional Transportation Agency when it was under the county.
Correct.
So there's a slight technical error.
It was too long to add all of the Shasta County Regional Transportation Planning Agency and.
Right.
We'll take your word for it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Dan?
Go
ahead,
I think it's been a pleasure working on this board under Dan. He was so professional and so knowledgeable that he elevated this agency to the level that it is and handed it off in good shape. So thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
And Dan, this is Mary Rickert. I just want to thank you for being such a great leader for this organization. We had a lot of good times, Kristen. We would go on conferences together. And I just wanted to say that perhaps the rest of the board would be interested that Dan is really held in very high regard statewide. He was very highly regarded. You could tell when you'd go to these conferences, it was very apparent. So you've championed so many great projects in Shasta County that, you know, your legacy will live on for many, many years. And I know you're looking forward to just not having to ever worry about SRTA in the future. And I think it's your time for rest and relaxation is well deserved. So thank you and have fun.
Thanks, Mary.
This is Kristen, and I want to add just a couple things. I know Sean read off the list, but I want to give a special recognition, because a lot of people don't realize where Market Center, the old Dickers project, and how Block 7 got started. I mean, it kind of gets lost after you talk about, and well, it goes on for years, but that little seed money in that planning grant, or that planning effort really culminated in, you know, $20 million from the state both times. And, you know, people kind of just, and then they see it start it's built, and, you know, City of Reading is out there with K2 and with McConnell, and it's, you know, it's made such a difference to downtown Reading. But it was really SRTA, and I remember Dan and I remember we were in Monterey talking to other people who do this kind of work, you know, how can we get this going? And here we are. So the other project I want to give, I think Razzle is another example where his forward thinking for many years and the planning ahead and allowing us to be such project ready or shovel ready that we're able to hit the funding queue exactly when we needed to. Maybe not the first time, but after multiple times, but it was because of that. And I think at one time your ATP, the active transportation funding, we got the highest percentage of projects submitted approved, you know, compared to even LA, from what I recall. And the last thing I say is it was also Dan's, I think, ability to look at succession planning and encourage members of his team to sign up for the Carl program that's offered through CalCog, so that potential managers could get the experience and training that other agencies found lacking in their own agencies. So CalCog put that together, and Dan encouraged Sean to be one of the first graduates, I think.
Yep.
So thank you, Dan, and good luck in all things you do.
Thanks, Kristen.
Well, Dan, I'm sorry I haven't seen you in the last few months since your retirement, but I remember back when I was first on council and Dana to Downtown was completed, and we've had a lot of interesting projects over the years when I served on council, and you know, a lot of good projects and a lot of money that came into our region, and so I appreciate all your work. I am going to recommend to you to stay away from horses in your retirement. They're very dangerous. It goes for your wife
Too late.
too. Yes.
Too late.
Too late. But you've earned your retirement, so I say congratulations, and I'm sure I'll see you around.
Yeah, thank you, Patrick. You're going way back in time there to Dana to Downtown. Reminds me how long you've been there. We actually toured the Bay Bridge together, didn't we, before it was complete, the new Bay Bridge, not the old Bay Bridge.
Joe? Anything? Joe? Anything?
Good. Dan, it's Mark Mazzano, and in my short time with you, I was most impressed with the knowledge that you possessed and your ability to dumb it down so I can understand it. And I really appreciate that, and I wish you the best. And if you're into fishing, well, get a license. And
Piece of advice.
and I appreciate all that you've done for Shasta County and certainly the city of Reading. So I wish you well in your retirement and enjoy it.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, Dan. Anything you want to say?
Oh, I forgot one more thing. Pat Minturn has suggested that I make a comment for him, and he wanted to congratulate you on your retirement and spoke very highly of you because you used to work for him.
Yes.
So he wanted me to share that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Baron, just some thoughts that I talked to some of you individually. I really enjoyed more than anything in my career the relationships that I built with board members and staff. I think that's what I take away more than anything. And you talk about all the leveraging and money and that Sean mentioned, and it occurred to me that now that I get to claim I'm on a fixed income, maybe that's why I'm sitting around here thinking, oh, what can I leverage? And I can't leverage anything anymore. So I'm really missing that element of my life. It's hard to leverage a fixed income into something else. But so I'll have to just put that skill set aside and focus on fishing. And yes, I do have a license. And I got a nice limit of razor clams this morning right at sunrise. So it's quite beautiful on the beach. And Kathy, I know that's the next item. Kathy, congratulations on your retirement. Again, great to see staff, great to think about and think back on all the accomplishments that we did, and just keep pressing forward, make me proud, and keep doing good things. The board deserves as much credit as anybody for all this, and please keep it up.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
Take care.
Okay.
See you soon.
Everyone. Bye.
All right, we're going to move to item number 8, recognize Senior Transportation Planner Kathy Early for the 10 years of outstanding service to SRTA upon her retirement.
You know, I'm trying to not take offense that everyone seems to be leaving.
I know.
But you know, it is what it is, right? No, so Kathy's been here. She's been a great mentor to me and to staff here, and sharing and imparting a lot of, wisdom on us over the years with a lot of her experience, not just here, but she also had done planning, regional planning experience also in the Monterey Bay area for a number of years. So she brought that over to SRTA too. And so that was something that we got to glean from her, a lot of experiences there, and lessons learned, and how to not do things that they found over there, and how to do things better. She's kind of been our programming guru over the years, just really helping us and looking ahead to make sure our projects are funded, and then get them into the state process so we can then move forward with those projects once we get those funding awarded. She's helped with also a lot of coordination with public transit efforts over the years, and helping run our SS Social Services Transportation Advisory Committee, educating and working with a member of volunteers from our community for years to get input on the transportation needs for those that are disabled, have mobility challenges, those that are elderly. So that's been a key part of what she's been doing over the years. And also overseeing rural public transit services and working on that with Dignity Health Connected Living, who we partnered with for many years to do operations. She's been a valuable asset to SRTA during all of this time, while also working part-time as a teacher in the Bernie area and everything. So helping groom the next generation of workers. Transportation. That's right. We need some more, and engineers and everything. So we appreciate all that she has done. We will miss Kathy as well. It's a bittersweet moment. We wish her congratulations as well, and thank her for all of her time here at SRTA and working with all of us.
Oh, thank you, Sean.
I'll hand it over to you, Baron.
I'll read you this, Kathy.
Oh,
And
perfect.
I actually get to give it to you.
Excellent.
Congratulations on the retirement presented to Kathy Early. Thank you for the 10 years of dedicated service at the Shasta Regional Transportation Agency. Your passion for improving communities in Shasta region will be felt for years to come. Enjoy your retirement. Retirement is not the end of the road, it's the beginning of an open highway.
Can I get a picture?
Go over there, put that window in the background. We'll get a great picture.
I want to get a picture. We at least have her in person. Kathy, you don't mind if I post it?
Yes.
While we patched it up.
How am I going to do this?
Get a little closer together.
How's the lighting?
That's it. Beautiful. One more.
Oh,
And Mary.
all right. Now my turn.
I assume you'll text that to me later.
Okay.
You wanna say your words up there?
Sure. I would like to thank this board. I would like to thank the staff. The staff here is amazing, and I know that you all know that. Particularly thanks to Dan Little and to Dan Wayne. Both. They're wonderful leaders. They're wonderful coworkers, as all are. And, I'm not leaving because Sean is the new executive director. I told him that immediately when we sat down to discuss this. I found myself earlier this year talking on a call with some people, and I went into this, I've been doing this for over 30 years. And I thought afterwards, oh my gosh, did I really say that? And then I said, well, how many years has it been? And it's been 35 years I've been in transportation planning. It's like, my husband has been retired for over 10 years, now 12 years, I believe, and he's been very patient waiting for me to retire. And so it's time. But I really, really appreciate staff. I appreciate you as the board of directors. I appreciate Dan Little for providing me the opportunity to work here. So thank you so much. You guys take care. And I know that these folks will provide you good service. And I know that they're in good hands. Thank you.
And Mary, can I say something? Is it my turn?
Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to say thank you, Kathy. I've known you for over 30 years.
For a while now.
Yes. And I just want to say on a personal note, I know Kathy she's got a great husband, 2 great sons, and she's highly respected and adored in her community. She's always been so involved in her community and just made such contributions. So a lot of you don't know that about her, but she really has a lot of people that really respect her and I think of her in very good terms. So I just wanted to say thank you for your time. And I can remember for years, I'd be at your house for something and you'd say, yep, got to go to Monterey for a couple of weeks and off you'd go. But she used to commute from Bernie to Monterey. How many years did you do that?
I did that for 12 years.
Quite a few years.
For 12 years. And that actually, I just want to say to you folks, that was one of the reasons I began with the Shasta Regional Transportation Agency in 2012, was because they had become independent from the county. And they provided that opportunity to employees to telecommute. I lived in Bernie, you know, and so we had moved from the Monterey Bay area to Bernie with my husband's job. And then instead of being on the road every single day, 5 days a week with a young family and facing inclement weather, it gave me the opportunity to work from home and telecommute and come into the office a couple times a week. So working as a part-time employee, that, you know, was open to me and available to me, which I appreciated. Thank you, Mary.
You're welcome.
Well, I wanted to say thank you because I know I've been here, I think I'm going on 8 years. And I appreciate the way you explain things at the board meetings in ways that maybe you didn't get a lot of questions because you explain things really well. And so that's appreciative, you know, and I know there were a lot of technical issues that you all work on. And Kathy, you conveyed, you know, the importance of all the issues you're working on in a way that we got to understand better, you know, what some of the services are that we are involved in. So thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Awesome, thank you. All right, we're gonna move on to item number 9, certain board members' reports on attendance at conferences. Anybody? Nope, moving on. Number 10, we're gonna receive comments on the draft 2022 regional transportation plan policies.
Thank you. Michael, can you get the attachment A on the screen? You can blow it up.
No.
Good afternoon, Chair Browning and board members. Jennifer Pollum, Shasta, our senior transportation planner with the Shasta Regional Transportation Agency, and I am presenting today on kind of commentary that we've developed on the regional transportation plan goals. The regional transportation plan is Shasta Region's long-range transportation policy and planning document that guides investments. The regional transportation plan is on a 4-year update cycle and was last adopted by this board in October of 2018, with those goals provided in attachment B. In the development of the 22 RTP, which we're doing ongoing right now, staff wanted to revisit those 2018 goals. The goals that are on the screen before you now are the draft goals proposed for the 2022 regional transportation plan. If you were to compare them, they are very different. And the reason that we developed these is they're designed to address current and future conditions that we, in coordination with the local jurisdictions, are planning for, and to align to new transportation funding opportunities since the 2018 regional transportation plan's adoption. Specifically, and for example, the federal funding priorities and programs for the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, also known as the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law. That became effective in November of 2021. These draft goals that you see are action-oriented They make the concept of a 20-year planning horizon, which is what the RTP has. And they try to set goals that we can attain in a 4-year planning cycle. Staff is providing these draft goals for review by the board of directors. It's really up for discussion. Ideas are that you could direct staff to proceed with these goals. You could suggest modifications to them, or say to carry forward with the 2018 goals. So we wanted to provide you this opportunity for discussion and provide direction to the staff. And with that, I will hand it over to Chair Brown.
Any discussion?
I guess I'll start. I wasn't here in 2018, but just briefly going over the general goals, what was adopted in 2018 to the ones proposed. I personally am still liking the general objectives and goals of the 2018 plan, particularly a few, I guess, some of the, they are radically different plans, and I suspect this is coming from a lot of the state mandates and requirements. I still think comparing each of these goals and objectives, I'm having a little concern with some of these new terms, I guess I should say. I know we have to work on disadvantaged communities, but and certain strategies along with that, but to put it on a 20-year goal, I guess I question that. And so I'll probably have some more comments later, but I guess I'll listen to the rest of the board and then have some more questions.
I had a question there on the orange one. Restore and empower historically marginalized and otherwise disadvantaged communities. And over under the how we will do it, it says that we will acknowledge past actions. And what does that mean?
For a transportation agency, it could be, we haven't, decided on anything, but it would be to just, by saying it now here, acknowledging any past actions that were done to any disadvantaged communities.
I mean, that were detrimental to them, that we could have done better or something?
Because it's that idea of empowering them.
Well, I don't like that. So if something we didn't do right, tell us, do it and we'll fix that. But I don't think we should just mea culpa for something. I don't know what it is that we're mea culpaing for.
Well, the way I got that was that we were going to take the knowledge that we gained from our mistakes and improve.
What mistakes? How do we know?
That's what we'll have to
As a
find
board,
out.
how do we know what mistakes we're dealing with?
And that would be part of to be in the plan. So it's like saying that this would be in the plan.
So part of the idea here also is not necessarily to look at mistakes per se. So I think what you're also looking at is past action in terms of other communities. For instance, Sacramento area has dealt with this before, and in the Sacramento area, they said, all this money investment has been, quote, been used towards disadvantaged communities. Yet why are we not seeing increased economic activity from different groups? Why are we not seeing where in general we're seeing improvements? What are the challenges with that? So they weren't just like, all this money investment and or transportation investment, but what other barriers have happened over several decades of planning activities or different rules and regulations, things that may even be outside, just to understand better what's taking place. From a transportation perspective, it's mostly an analysis to say where we've been investing our dollars. And the other question will be, have we been investing enough dollars in to help better areas where those that are considered disadvantaged? So whether it's people without access to vehicles, whether it's people that are low income, those that may be transit dependent, different groups, to be able to just kind of see where we're at. So the initial effort in there would just be to kind of analyze what we've been doing from an investment standpoint as well, and how well have we done to help better all areas of the region and not just certain areas.
John, what would happen if that read, develop a disadvantaged community investment strategy that assesses local needs? Why do we have a thing there that acknowledges past actions when we have no idea what they are? I would say, let's have a goal that goes forward and doesn't harbor in the past.
But you have to learn from the past to be able to make adjustments.
But there's nothing wrong with when it says,
You know, I'm fine taking
assess local needs.
2, 3, I'm totally fine taking those four words out. But I do acknowledge that we have to learn, we have to assess what the past was to better inform ourselves going forward. And I mean, we can give an example that frequently comes up is that when it takes an hour to get from one place to the other on local transit, that could pose a disadvantage to people who have no other means to get there. And what could be done differently? And some of those assessments could be, demand response, looks like Shasta Connect. So, we have to evaluate what has been happening. What are those unique?
Well, that's where we have the ridership and we have that information.
You or I might not even know what the impact is to groups of people. We have to be open to evaluating what those impacts were.
And if I can jump in, I can appreciate the concern that some might have with just the way it's stated. And unfortunately, it's a condition of our time that we feel like we have to go back and apologize for mistakes in the past. And that's a political issue I don't want to get into. My recommendation would be simply saying to acknowledge the past, which I think is important, there's learnings there, to using best practices, develop a disadvantaged community investment strategy using best practices and then provide targeted outreach so that we can look at what's happened in the past. Take the best of what happened in the past. So we just lose that feeling that some people might have, whether it's real or imagined, feeling people have about feeling guilty about something that happened. What are the best practices we took from there? I think that's just, in my mind, the simplest way to handle that.
The other thing I think is, okay, you were talking about maybe, I don't want to use the word failure, but what about the things you did right? That worked really well.
Right.
We have to use those too to model future policy. Right? So it's not, I don't want to dwell on the negative, but certainly you factor that in because I agree with Kristen in that we learn from the mistakes we make. Not that they were mistakes, but it was an idea that came, we tried it, it didn't produce 100%. It gave us 80%. So now we take that knowledge, pair it with what we did really well, and we move forward.
And I come from the eastern Shasta County in the rural areas, and when I think of disadvantage, I think this probably impacts our elderly the most by far. Because if people are young and they may have come from another country, but they're well employed these days and they're getting paid very, very well. They're not disadvantaged. So that's my reaction is it's really primarily for the people that are on Social Security, that are elderly and isolated. And so that's at least that's how I interpret it.
It's very semantical, but do the best you can with that.
That's why it's recorded, so we can go back later and write it all down specifically.
Wow.
So. Are there any other?
You got the changes?
Out in the trenches.
Yeah, and luckily it's recorded.
Well, and then I just do want to say one more thing. I think that I like some of it and I didn't like some of it from a wording standpoint, but that's neither here nor there. I guess my biggest thing, and Sean and I were talking about this earlier in our meeting before this meeting, and that is that we've gone away. We're okay with doing a lot of different buses for what we now know to be 1,500 people ridership, right, on RABA. But at the same time, we don't, for those disadvantaged, just trying to get to the airport, we don't even go to the airport anymore, is one of my examples. Because there was only 5 riders in Cottonwood, we don't go there anymore, but we're willing to do for 90,000, we're willing to do 1,500. I think that's the same difference when you're looking at Cottonwood from, they're roughly, 3,500 people, 5,000 people, whatever it is. We're okay with taking it away for 5 people. I think those are the things that we have to look at. And I really think, and Sean and I had this discussion earlier, we really got to be forward thinking going forward and looking at on demand. I think that's really the way to go, especially when you're talking about your rural areas, whether it's Bernie, whether it's the airport, whether it's Cottonwood or even Anderson and Shasta Lake City. I think we've proven by a Sunday on demand that that's really where it's going, and really going after that funding source to do more on demand. And joining that with RABA and connecting all those, I think and I had this discussion earlier, I think there's a lot of full buses that RABA needs to continue because there is that ridership. But I think in the rural areas of even Reading and Anderson and Shasta Lake City and Cottonwood and even Bernie, where you have an on-demand going to those different locations that we're really just missing when you had those. And I think in today's world where we want everything right now anyway, that on-demand really works for people in a much better fashion than waiting, like she said, an hour to go to the bus, an hour to get to your appointment. You and I can get there in our car in 10 minutes. So that's my only statement.
So do we need a motion? I'll make a motion.
Well, no, wait a minute, I'd like to discuss this some more.
Okay.
The last item there, you say reduce per capita vehicle miles traveled and associated with greenhouse gas. When you go over to 2018, we didn't have that. Oh, I know Dan Wayne was always in here talking about, sustainable communities, what we can do. And the state might think we ought to reduce vehicle miles traveled, and maybe they did that with $6 gasoline. But I don't know why our goal isn't for SRTA that we will simply track vehicle miles traveled and report it. I don't see where it's our objective to reduce it.
Well, I'll answer to that one. It is actually within the mandate of the state. Every region that's represented, that's a metropolitan region, has a goal. The state has come up with that through the California Air Resources Board. So previously, up until 2020, our goal was zero.
And then we went to 2%, right?
It's 4% now.
4%.
So for 2035, we have a goal that is stated that we are supposed to be taking actions to reduce vehicle miles traveled, which translate to greenhouse gas emissions. They use VMT, vehicle miles traveled, as the nexus to connect to greenhouse gas emissions. Short term, and probably the next, 8 years, the next 2 RTP cycles, we don't know what that will mean, but the state always seems to take more of a heavy hand on stuff. So the concern could be if we also don't have something that at least says, hey, we're working to try to do something and develop strategies. I agree. And we've always made this case that the state says, look, our population is 1/2% of the entire state of California. So our total contribution to the state is very small. And so we've used that as a way also to talk.
John, it has nothing to do with that we're a smaller percent. The idea is we are a rural community and our community has to drive farther. If you're in Bernie, you got to drive some miles. And I don't think we ought to have a goal that says we're going to, work to actively reduce vehicle miles traveled. It's a no-brainer in Shasta County. If we want to track it and report it to the state, that's fine. But SRTA's goal is not to reduce it. The state's goal might be. I think ours ought to be going back to 1%, from 4% to 1%, or something that's realistic, and rather than just buy into what the state wants you to do.
Well, it's not, Sean, could you correct me if I'm wrong, that it's not an optional choice, that we don't say that we have a goal, we don't say we have a goal and that we are trying to achieve the goal. What you're saying is, screw the goal, we don't have to have a goal, and it's the state's idea, and we don't have to do anything. It's my understanding, we have a mandate put on to us, and now whatever, like, we could ask them, whatever, if we miss if we do not state we have a mandate, or we don't even have goals in our plans that the state reviews that says we have a goal, there could be some downside to that, in how the state and the federal government distribute funds. So if it's just a goal and we have methods where we can try to achieve.
It wasn't a goal. It said reduce vehicle miles traveled.
As a regional goal.
Correct. As a regional goal, yes. So it is.
It's a goal.
Simply track it. I'll bet you we will find it's reduced with $6 a gallon
You're
gas.
just opposed to saying we want to we have a goal of reducing vehicle miles traveled, and I'm not supporting that. I wouldn't, if you make that motion, I won't support it.
What happens if we don't make the goal?
Right now, we're not really sure.
Nothing.
in terms of, so what we have from a regional planning perspective, but we do have a couple of things that happen. So the state has said we have a goal that we're in our regional transportation plan. You must be able to illustrate your plan through the different projects that you have that you can attempt to, because it's a long-term strategy, right? That these strategies in place are likely to help you reach that goal, that target, that -4% target. If we don't think that our strategies can do that, then we have to have what's called an alternative planning strategy that's included. That says, well, we can't, and to do that though would require X, Y, Z in terms of projects, and it might require X, Y, Z in the amount of funding that would need to be provided or something. So we haven't finished going through that analysis process yet with this 2022 RTP to say, hey, do we think we're gonna reach this? From different things that we looked at, we think it's possible that we will be able to long-term and everything. But it's true that we don't know what will take place yet, but there is scrutiny from the state level. It could impact projects that are funded. It could impact grant programs that we have. And so in some form or fashion, whether we say through the RTP and the strategies included, or with the RTP plus an alternative planning strategy to make a case of what it would take to reach the goal, may then allow us to still be able to stay competitive for grant programs and other activities. So that's from the state level. We also have the federal requirements of having the regional plan to receive federal funding. So there's two masters we're serving with the regional plan. I mean, we can.
Wasn't our old goal on the 2018 one, the last one, practice and promote environmental and natural resource stewardship? Would that come under that?
We actually have.
Sustainable communities?
We actually have that above in the next, in the draft 2022 RTP goals. We have that above.
Yeah, so the goals in the 2018 don't necessarily match up with the goals in the 2022 proposal. I mean, we can definitely have stuff that says that we'll, encourage, strategies to use VMT miles and everything towards efforts, and then list strategies. Part of the strategies are also, when we go through the process of working with regional partners. We work with Caltrans, we work with the cities and the county and say, hey, what types of projects could we do, RABA and everything, to figure out how that plays into how can we reduce emissions and stuff.
So I think that there are some areas in our region that we're just never going to be able to reduce miles traveled. But there are areas where we can. And if we're making that part of our long range goal, okay, then we're going to keep the state and the feds happy, and we're going to get the money that we need to make this project happen. As this community grows, okay, we have 1-day trips to Bernie. That might turn into 2 or 3 days, 2 or 3 trips a day as the population moves. I mean, if we learned one thing from the pandemic, people are moving to the North State. They're moving to Reading because they don't have to pay $3,000 a month to live in a shoebox in the Bay Area. They can do it in telecommute as we did out of Bernie. And more of that's happening. And that is going to reduce vehicle miles traveled.
Can we just put in there, work to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by implementing the sustainable community strategy?
Yeah, or study strategies.
I mean, you're saying the same thing without talking about miles traveled.
Right.
Does that get our same goal?
That's what I'm thinking. I mean, evaluate and develop strategies. Not saying you can do them, you just, because it's a reasonable thing to do, and I agree. It's always nice to, to say you're gonna stick your finger in the eyes of the state, but it's a damaging. It's not gonna work. We're an extension of the state. So, but I get the point. We just say we're gonna develop and evaluate, we're gonna work toward this end.
We can work to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by implementing the sustainable and leave out the per capita.
And we're tracking anyway. And if you look in how we're gonna do it.
And the next column is fine because it says we're gonna track it.
Right. Yeah, but like going back to the orange one, what was in the 2018? What was our previous one that covered that?
They're not, it's not a crossover, which one
Was there any that covered?
talked about disadvantaged communities. We have, I think it's more the people-centric communities would kind of address that.
So one thing that we did do in the 2018 RTP is we try to look at where are our disadvantaged communities located based upon a variety of factors. So income, age, disability, access to vehicles. And part of that was a strategy because at the state level, various programs use a tool called Column Virus Screen, which factors a lot of these different same factors as well as air quality. Under Cal Enviro screen, their definition of disadvantaged communities has a negative impact on our region, because once you factor in that we have good air quality, it makes you mute all of those other issues. So one of the things that we did is said, no, we're going to come up with our own definition of disadvantaged communities, identify where those are to make a case when we go for fund sources where Cal Enviro screen does not benefit our region, but these other factors do, to say, look, we did analysis and this is why we're wanting to invest our regional and local dollars in these other communities and in these other projects. So that was one of the first steps we took with the last RTP cycle to address disadvantaged communities. At the federal and state level, they continue to want to ask us to look at more items, and that'll be kind of a long-term effort, and everything to help make us competitive for additional funding down the road. So that's kind of our biggest goal here, is always trying to make sure the region and the local jurisdictions can be as competitive as possible to leverage and give as much money back to the region.
On the 2018, we have maximized funding available for transportation and mobility improvements in the region. Now, that's nowhere, which I like and approve, but is that anywhere listed here as a goal?
So that was an objective under one of the goals. So that can still remain as one of our primary objectives under the goals that we have in 2018 RTP. We don't have a full crosswalk that says, here's your goals, here's your objectives, and here's your strategies. We just want to come to you now to kind of get a general sense of thoughts on the regional goals. June of last year, we came to some draft strategies for ideas related to how we could try to then meet towards the targets and other activities. So part of this process is just us realizing with the federal infrastructure bill and where the state's headed, just a reevaluation of goals. We will marry all of these and kind of draft. There will be other opportunities to make revisions to this. So we'll be during this process working with the local partners. And then this fall, you have another chance to look at this and make adjustments for all the goals, the strategies, providing a further direction before we do a final RTP.
That's fair.
I mean, I think as if we ask the average person what's important to them in the entire county, I think mobility improvements, having efficient roads and good quality roads is going to rank very high, as opposed to the disadvantaged communities. I'm not sure if that's going to rank as the highest, but yet it's mentioned twice in these draft goals in 2022. And I'm just not seeing a lot of traffic and mobility design options in this draft, which to me, that's what Shasta Regional Transportation is all about, or a good chunk of it, using sales tax and gas tax and what the public would expect us to use the vast majority of those dollars for. Not that we're not going to work on other issues, but I would want to see some of the top issues first and kind of ranking them in a system of top priority, something less.
And maximizing funding available, that's basically this agency's vision statement.
Right.
If you look at our website, so that we would carry forward.
But I'm reading it in the adopted goals and I'm not reading it in the draft rule. That's why.
I saw a problem with the second blue one down there where it says support efforts to remove barriers to transportation's efficient growth. On the other side, in 2018, it said have strategies to increase capacity on interregional and regionally significant roadways to keep people and freight moving efficiently and effectively. I can pull up a mental image on the 20 and 18 goal. I don't pull up a mental image on that second blue one. So I don't think you've improved them, to be honest.
Remove barriers.
We can see if we can bring them both together, keep some that from this meeting and from the report.
Yeah.
And then bring.
It ought to convey a thought that I understand what it is you're portraying.
Well, I don't know, and I think part of the thoughts there is like this, we had like the Affordable Housing Systemic Communities grant programs, right? Those have helped bring improvements to communities. Redding, Shasta Lake also will have one in there. So I think that's where you talk about transportation efficient growth, where you have multiple uses. The Shasta Lake project I know will have an improved transportation stop that's there. You have housing nearby. So those are some of those types of things in our mind of what we're looking to do. And that's why I think under that one, we were tying back to an older regional infill redevelopment incentive program that we had that helped provide some of that seed money for some of those efforts as well. Is maybe reevaluating how we might bring those programs back or how we could fit that into future needs. The thing I will add to the reason we've gone away from strategically increased capacity on interregional roads is essentially we're running into challenges at a regional level that if you have a project that says we're increasing capacity,
They don't like it.
they don't like it, period. We're not making any headway, especially at Caltrans headquarters with certain staff. So if you're doing any project where they're saying, look, it's inducing travel, we're in an uphill battle to try to make the argument. So,
But it didn't mention capacity.
correct. We don't,
Pass.
we're staying,
Talk efficiently. Now, having a third lane for trucks to park when there's snow, that's efficiency and it's not capacity. So we can work around that.
correct. And that's, I think, as we develop the goals, the policies, objectives, those types of things are what we're going to be incorporating. This just doesn't give you the full list of everything that we're looking at, but I agree with you. Looking at freight, looking at other challenges that we have, it'll be part of what our strategy.
Okay. Do you think you could go back and take these and marry the old one and some of the new ones and come up with
That's what we're seeking.
a more palatable list?
Yep, definitely. And we're also seeking input from all of our partner agencies and their staff, so they will be giving us some input as well. And so we'll marry all that kind of together in that draft plan.
Do you prioritize these?
No.
Intentional.
Well, I just know I had a conversation with our CSD director for the Fall River Community Services District, and, it's, his number one priority was to emphasize the fact it was a disadvantaged community. So that is the buzzword, so to speak, that really gets grants approved, and he just got a $700,000 or $800,000 grant. I mean, that's how you get your foot in the door. That's how you get the funding. So you have,
Put that in your grant, application.
well, but anyway, but they may look, do they ever look at some of your strategic planning?
A lot of the projects now are really saying what does your RTP say?
Yeah, so.
What's in your RTP? Is your project consistent with the RTP? So this is, or even, back and forth, we interchange words like climate change and extreme weather, right? With different programs, we're doing the same thing here and there. That way, then we can say, yes, these projects are also addressing these issues, and we can interchange some of those terms and be competitive.
I would hope they're looking at it. I mean, I'm not giving you the money if you're not doing what I want you to
That's right.
do.
And they're the ones in
They are.
charge of purses, these purse
Right.
strings, so.
Right.
I think there's just a lot of semantics involved in all
It's
of
really
this.
not that important.
Yeah, it's so political.
Yes.
I agree, you have to keep disadvantaged communities in it because we have disadvantaged communities. It's a buzz phrase that gets us money and that's what we want to do.
And if you remember during our ARPA discussion, I asked Mary Williams about this, talked about the money for water, for infrastructure throughout the county. And I said, so how many water districts are disadvantaged or whatever? And she said, I think all of them,
Yes,
I think,
all of them.
except for
Same with
Centerville.
fire districts.
Yeah,
All.
so the point is that's just part of the lingo that you got to use in order to accomplish your goals.
And I think it just gets onerous, especially to people in the North State. When you say support efforts to remove, as if we've been throwing barriers in the face of transportation. We just want to continue to promote growth and development. That's what we want. So it's just.
They don't want growth.
And that's on them. But I think it's just, as you guys well know, you have to walk the political tightrope.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of how this works.
Yeah.
So I think those things just shy away from a sense of guilt, like we're responsible for having done bad things to this. I don't think anybody in this room has done that. I've never been the intention of this agency. So there's a sensitivity there, obviously. And again, I don't know, they have to focus on removing barriers as opposed to let's create a more effective strategy. Let's be better at what we do. Let's use best practices. It's all semantics. We have to use the terminology that will get us money. And that's got to be our first, to get us to the performance standards we want, but we want to get money. So good luck with all of that.
No. And so on this one, there's no motion that's needed. This is just an item to be able to solicit comments. So this is all very good feedback for us. We will definitely go back and review these, revise these, make it so we do their game, but we make it that we're happy with it as well, and work together. So this is all very good feedback. And part of this, that's why we want to bring this to you. Get your thoughts, get your feedback, and then we'll do some revisions. And again, if there's something else in the draft RTP as we do that, that's an opportunity to make some adjustments if needed as well.
Cool. Thank you both.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Yes, thank you.
All right, we're gonna move on to item number 11, receive an update on Shasta Regional Active Transportation Network Grant Development Effort and approve a local agency funding match for ATP projects.
I think he was reading my mind. He's just over there turning the air down.
Good afternoon, members of the board and partner agency staff. Michael is going to be helping us with the PowerPoint. I hope you can hear me okay. I'm wearing this mask for personal health reasons. Michael, is there a way you can pull up the slides so we can view it entirely on the screen?
Let me look for a setting here. I thought I was. Hang on.
So while he's starting that, I'll just start off. I'm providing you with an update on the Shasta Regional Active Transportation Network Grant Development Effort. SRTA received a Caltrans grant in late 2020 to implement the Shasta Regional Active Transportation Network Project Development Assistance Program. Try saying that 10 times fast.
Jesus.
This program enables SRTA to assist partners in the development of active transportation projects for competition in grant programs such as the Statewide Active Transportation Program, or ATP, the Highway Safety Improvement Program, the Clean California Local Grant Program, and others. SRTA requested project nominations from partners and ultimately assisted with the development of 7 projects. How we doing, Michael?
Did not do it?
Nope.
One sec.
I had a big screen of an orange. So the ATP is the greatest source of active transportation funding in California. This is the program's 6th cycle, and $650 million is available. However, the governor and legislators recently agreed to over $1 billion augmentation to the ATP, but it remains to be determined how much of that funding will go to the 5th cycle and how much will go to the 6th cycle. Either way, the reason for the augmentation is incredible demand statewide, almost there, for active transportation funding. Last cycle, there was only $440 million available for $2.2 billion in demand. This cycle, there may be more funding available, but the demand has increased to $3.1 billion. All that said, the ATP remains the greatest source of funding for walking and biking infrastructure and non-infrastructure. So the 6 of the 7 projects worked on by SRTA and partner staff were developed with the ATP in mind. The Calaboose Creek project, can you go to the next slide, please? Calaboose Creek project was prepared for the Clean California Local Grant Program. 5 of the projects were nominated by the city of Redding, 1 from the Pit River Tribe, and the NRATL was a multi-partner carryover project from ATP Cycle 5. Shasta County participated in meetings, walk audits, and public engagement, but staff was too busy with their current workload to nominate a project this cycle. There were no nominations from the cities of Anderson and Shasta Lake. Next slide. The project development effort began with walk audits to identify opportunities and challenges associated with project corridors. Next. Maps and high-level drawings were prepared to so staff from SRTA and partners could engage the public to get their input on community needs and preferences. In order to meet the public in ways most comfortable to them, staff offered both online and in-person engagement opportunities. Next. Safe routes to school are a particularly important part of these projects, so we made sure to engage students at schools to get their input and from faculty. Next. During and after public engagement, consultants drafted technical project drawings needed for the grant applications. The consultants worked closely with partners to prepare these drawings, and SRTA offered technical assistance. Next. Now I'll briefly walk through the project so you may have an overview of the work done. The Calaboose Creek project was submitted to the Clean California Local Grants Program. The project is situated in downtown Reading and follows the Calaboose Creek roughly from Yuba Street in the north to Lincoln Street in the south. The project included the low-stress walk and bike facilities listed here. Unfortunately, we learned much later that the application was not received due to a technical error. Staff is still waiting to hear more about this. The next slide, please. The Hilltop Improvement Project was submitted to the ATP Cycle 6, and it runs from Lake Boulevard in the north along Hilltop Drive before it turns south along Palisades Avenue. The project continues south along a proposed shared use path to connect with the Dana to Downtown Trail. The project comprises the low-stress walking and bike facilities listed here and would reduce vehicle lanes from 5 down to 3. And next, this is a typical hilltop cross section. Okay, next please. The Victor Improvement Project was submitted to the ATP Cycle 6 and runs north from the ATP Cycle 5 awarded Victor Avenue project that ends at Cypress. It provides a shared use path along Victor before turning west on Mistletoe. This project also includes a network of neighborhood greenways, which are residential streets with low car volumes and speeds designated for safer, more comfortable active transportation to popular destinations such as Mistletoe Elementary and shopping off of Churn Creek. Next, please.
Can I ask a real quick question?
Yeah.
So is the intent of that to slow traffic down on that road?
Which one?
Now, is this the intent to slow traffic down in that Mistletoe area?
Yeah, a lot of the projects have that intent because the higher the speeds, the greater the likelihood of a pedestrian or cyclist getting killed when there's a collision. Yeah.
Okay.
Next slide, please. So, yeah, here are some cross sections for the Victor project. Now, these are just samples, of course. The drawings that are produced for these projects are very extensive, and I don't think we want to spend the time to look at all the drawings. But this is just a sample here. If you are curious about any of these projects, I'm happy to share these with you. So next. The Butte Street Boogie project was also submitted to the ATP Cycle 6 and is another neighborhood greenway network project that also includes bike lanes, protected bike lanes, and a shared use path. This project is a great example of context-appropriate design, which should create a comfortable, low-stress network for people of all ages and abilities. Next. And here's a cross-section. This one's for Shasta Street, where they're proposing some protected bike lanes. Next. All right. So the Park Marina Drive Rapid Implementation Project was developed for the ATP's second pilot program for quick build projects. Quick build projects are active transportation projects built with semi-permanent materials and are designed to last up to 5 years, with the intent of using the project to test designs and make design changes in real time to community feedback. This project proposed protected bike lanes from the State Route 44 interchange to Parkview, and also includes the low stress features listed here. Next. And here's a cross section for Park Marina Drive. So there's a two-way cycle track proposed on the sort of the northwest part of the project, and then it turns into 2 one-ways on the southeast part of the project. All right, so next. The North Reading Active Transportation Trunk Line, or RATTLE, never quite got off the ground for this cycle. Partner agency staff were reluctant to take the lead on this project due to financial and some legal concerns. There were concerns that conducting the environmental phase of project design may unearth some unknown costs that would increase the project costs. And finally, there is general concern regarding inflationary pressure and its effect on a project of this magnitude. In the end, partners agreed to not submit this project for ATP Cycle 6, and staff will meet together with partners in the future on how best to proceed. And next, and these are some cross sections here. Sorry, that's probably hard to see, but you've got path widths ranging from 8 to 12 feet here. Next, please. Okay, finally, staff had an opportunity to work closely with the roads department of the Pitt River Tribe and Shasta County staff on the development of a network for the Pitt River Tribe and the community of Bernie. This would have proposed a community-wide low-stress network. Unfortunately, as with many partners, the Pitt River Tribe is currently experiencing some staff turnover, and there was concern over their ability to deliver the project should it be funded. So the project was not submitted, and the tribe has expressed interest in collaborating on a future ATP cycle. Next. In summary, these are the projects submitted for ATP Cycle 6. The total cost for all of these projects is $29 million. In order to stay competitive, it is crucial to fight for every point possible. And by providing just over 20% match, projects automatically get 5 points, which is critical in a program where dozens of projects end up with the same score on the funding threshold. This means a total match of $5.6 million. Keeping with board action related to the ATP Cycle 5, SRTA staff is recommending continuing to offer half of the match for partners submitting ATP applications, should those projects receive funding. Sorry. SRTA's ATP Cycle 6 leverage amounts would be $2.8 million and would likely come from the Regional Improvement Program funding and the Regional Non-Motorized Improvement Program. Next. So, before we go to questions, I just wanted to say the next steps for this effort, this assistance effort that includes the Caltrans grant, is finishing out activities related to the grants. We'll have to assess where the budget is and see if we have an opportunity to do 1 or 2 additional projects with this effort. But then we would need to go and get some more money from Caltrans to continue this assistance effort, which has brought so much money to the region in the last cycle and hopefully this cycle as well. And I'll just end with what I began this effort with is a request to local agencies to please submit projects and for our review so that we can work together on making some great projects happen. Thank you.
Do you foresee the Pitt River Tribe coming forward in the next 6 months or year or another project, or is that kind of put on hold for a long term?
So I plan on having a meeting with the Pitt River Tribe and hopefully Caltrans staff here in the coming weeks, maybe months, to determine how best to strategize, probably for cycle 7, the next one. We did finish the drawings, so they're ready to go. And Caltrans is working on they'll have a long-term planning effort for Bernie there. And so I think there's an opportunity to even work more closely together. We hit some snags this go around in that the state really wants to partner with tribes, but it's a bit of a challenge with the mechanics of transferring the funds. And so we think there might be some ways, and there are some key people we need to discuss with on that. But yeah, we're cautiously optimistic.
Yeah, I'll just add that the Catherine's headquarters staff that oversee the program, they're trying to find ways to provide more funds to the tribes and everything. For instance, in one of the first cycles, they have a project that they've extended essentially indefinitely because of a bunch of challenges to try to figure out how to actually get the money to a tribe that has a project in Southern California. And because of that, through working with the Bureau of Indian Affairs and just the mechanisms, the whole process, it takes forever. There are other challenges, potentially with tribes where the way some of the legislation is written, where, in that project and oversight and managing it, they quote, have to give up their sovereignty, which is an issue for the tribes, right, as a separate nation status. So there's some hurdles that they're trying to overcome at the CTC staff level to figure out how to make these mechanisms work. And so we're hoping that one, they make some progress there, and then two, that we'll be comfortable in the Pit River Tribe also to move forward on a project. So,
Could you move back to the slide on Hilltop, the Hilltop Improvement Project?
Michael, did you catch that? We're looking to go back to Hilltop.
That one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Oh, I think that slide needs to be adjusted.
So the proposal is going to reduce Hilltop from Highway 299 to Palisades down to one lane in each direction. Is that correct?
It'll be at least, let's see, a maximum of 3. I think there might be a section where it's 1 lane in each direction, but I think for the most part, it's going to be 3 lanes.
So right now, isn't it 2 lanes in each direction with the turn lane? Is that the way that it is now?
Well, in a couple sections, yes. But there is a significant portion where it is 4 or 5 lanes.
I'm talking from the part from Palisades going north to hit 299. It's total, the maximum I think would be 5, would it not?
That's correct.
2 lanes in each direction.
And a center turn.
A center turn lane, right?
That's
now of that, is that going to remain that way, or you're talking about reducing one of those vehicle lanes?
The project proposes reducing it down to 1 lane in each direction and a turn lane.
So all of our traffic models show that the traffic is going to decrease in this area. Is that why we're comfortable with doing that?
I'm told that we're actually under capacity and that it's not likely that we would reach capacity on that corridor, and it's a corridor that's heavily used by active transportation users. And right now it's a bit of a struggle because people are parking in the bike lane. And so we just want to be able to provide additional alternatives and safer, more comfortable alternatives so that more people will choose to use this form of transportation and be comfortable doing it.
I'll add that part of the design too is proposals from City of Reading staff. So City of Reading staff have looked at the traffic modeling, both the regional data as well as the local data to determine what makes sense in terms of the design. So a lot of the proposals for how the design is done is coming straight from the Public Works Department.
I suspected that. I could see that from the Hilltop or from the Victor project too, which I also have a concern on. Is there no way to accommodate bicycles with the current vehicle lanes today? That to me would seem to be the goal, as opposed, I think people here are going to have some troubles with that area as we reduce a vehicle lane. The Victor improvement isn't as bad because we only have 1 vehicle lane in each direction now, but we have been working on that for 20 years to try to add vehicle lanes there. The City of Reading has bought lot after lot. We have right-of-way approved there. We desperately need vehicle lanes on the Victor, particularly from Hartnell
Could
to
you pull that slide
44.
back up?
Michael, can you pull the slide back up? I'm sorry.
And I realize City of Reading's taken the lead on that, but it's an easier sell at Victor because there's only, one vehicle lane now. We need more there, but Hilltop is going to, I think we'll have a lot of concern there, moving it to one vehicle lane.
Oh, I had a question too. Oh. You said in the statement after we asked the question that they're parking there? So there's not, they're parking in the bike lane now?
That's correct.
So we don't have no parking there?
I think.
Required parking there. There's no place else to park.
So we have required parking in a bicycle lane?
They're just trying to cram it all in.
I mean, I don't want to speak.
Yeah, you'd have to go look, look.
I don't know if Zach.
I don't think they're.
I don't see city reading staff. So those will be questions we could direct to city reading staff.
City ready.
Directly.
I wrote a note. I'm gonna ask the question.
I figured you were.
But I mean,
Because I actually agree with Patrick, like, we're gonna reduce something that's already at a, we need more of for vehicles, and we're gonna reduce it from 2 to 1. I mean, from all the times I drive there.
There's a lot of building going on there right now too.
Right.
Here was something I brought up at our last meeting. We had a presentation by Caltrans on the I-5, 6 lanes from Hilltop up to Shasta Lake. And my map goes away.
Michael, can you keep the map at Hilltop, please? Thank you.
So we're talking about traffic on this, and there's a lot of traffic on that road. The thing that I proposed was that they take Hilltop here and make an on-ramp that would get onto I-5, and you would greatly reduce the traffic going up Hilltop, and it would relieve probably the need for one lane, because everybody coming up north comes up here to get on and back to I-5. But Caltrans said, no, well, state doesn't like to have surface roads come on and get up there, onto the freeway. But if you had a lane here that just had an on-ramp, no other off-ramp coming in, it would greatly reduce the traffic on Hilltop if there was a way to get here to get on up to going on 299 out to Shasta College. It would really help. So I think Caltrans ought to look at that again to see if there's a way to go against state protocols and still do something that helps the traffic in Reading.
There's a lot of traffic in there. I can't believe you want to drop that down.
Well, and here's the other thing. So you just take Palisades, for example. We did that, I'm sure it was to get a road as a county. We did it, but we took it from 4 lanes, 2 on each side, to 1 lane and added a bike lane on each side. There's no bikes there ever. And now we have traffic congestion every morning at the school and every afternoon at the school. Like, I just struggle with some of our decisions as a state to a one-size-fits-all.
Yeah, that was a state decision.
I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we have the same trouble on Shasta Dam Boulevard.
Right. I mean, we do these projects where we're actually interfering and getting other people, and we put a crosswalk in the middle of all that in Palisadro as well.
No, 2.
2, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, we made it more dangerous for the kids that are crossing the street and even more for the parents that are delivering their kids, trying to watch out for the kids crossing.
I regularly get calls on it.
Yeah.
The only
My kid
problem,
goes to school there, it's insane.
the only problem I see here, Greg, in a perfect world, it'd be nice to put an on-ramp there, but that part of I-5, you already have traffic entering 2 other locations before.
You would need a whole extra lane just to get them through.
So it's kind of crowded in that area before you get to Lake Boulevard. I travel it every day and it gets tight there.
Caltrans could fix that. It's a policy that won't let.
Yeah, another lane would do it.
Do it.
Yeah, we can definitely share the thoughts both with the staff that we work with, and everything in terms of projects, and also the comments to Caltrans as well. And, if there's something that they look at that comes up down the road, that is an area where through there, it's part of analysis of our Fixed 5 Cascade Gateway project. So we're continuing to look at, finding ways to make that project competitive, especially with the whole critical look by the state at headquarters about induced travel and the arguments that they make. And so that kind of barrier that we're running into is a wall right now with them, of how we handle that. So we can definitely take those ideas and be able to brainstorm thoughts of how to move forward. And, if something makes sense and works, we can look at that, whether it's now or, at some point in the future in terms of what we can do. But we can definitely share all those thoughts with our partners.
Yeah, because you got no way to go north on 5 from there. That on-ramp is a good idea, in my opinion.
You know, and I'm not.
'Cause I travel it. I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not opposed for bike lanes on Victor, but, you know, we have the capacity there to at least put another lane in, and I don't know why we couldn't do the two together. I realize this is a grant for cycling, but, it just seemed, City of Reading knows very well that there's traffic congestion there in the morning and evening. So that would be my desire. These are already pretty well set. The designs are already done and crafted and moved on. So I know we can't change it now, but.
And I'll just add lots of public engagements where we heard from the community about their preferences. And so these projects were informed by, technical knowledge and public opinion.
I understand.
Well, if they go to one lane, it'll certainly slow the traffic down, that's for sure. I mean, I get complaints from the constituents up there. I have to send a radar trailer up there or ask Bill Schuler to put the motors up there for a while, slow them down, but it's one way to do it, I guess.
On that side, we do have an action request with those projects that they're funded by the board to approve the dollar for dollar match on SRTA's end for these projects, so. If we can get that, if there's a motion.
This is continuing from, the same effort that we did in cycle 5.
I move approval. I'll second it.
All right, did you get the first and the second? Kristen and then Mary?
I have Kristen and then Mary.
Yes.
We have roll call vote?
And this is to change it to a 20% match?
Yes.
Is that?
Just like last cycle.
Just to be clear, it would be a 20% match overall.
10 from SRTA?
Yes.
Right.
And it's not going to hurt our funding for other projects?
No, this is, we're using regional non-motorized program funds as well as reallocating funds for a prior project that was not funded.
Okay.
Not impacting anything right now from before.
Good.
Correct.
Roll call vote, right?
Yeah, roll call vote, please.
Okay. Board Member Commenti,
Yes.
Board Member Rickert,
Yes.
Board Member Jones,
Reluctantly, yes.
He said yes.
okay, Chair Browning,
Yeah.
Board Member Mazzano,
Yes.
Board Member Schrader,
Yes.
and Board Member Watkins.
Maybe yes.
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna move on to item number 12. Discuss and provide direction regarding future board meetings, and I'm guessing this is location?
So there's a couple things. So at the last board meeting, it was mentioned, one, make sure we make our meetings back open. So we've done that. We've removed the notices from before and made it clear that our meetings are about open. And still with here, we're able to provide it for the public to be able to participate by Zoom and everything. Moving forward, part of what we also wanted to be able to do was ask boards for direction on how you want to move forward with meetings. For instance, some board members have mentioned before being able to continue to hold meetings here at SRTA and be able to have teleconferencing available. Since the last meeting, in consulting with our legal attorney, John Canny, as well as understand current law, there are some things we can do moving forward. One is to, ask, if the board would like to continue to meet here, convenience wise there, and or the board chambers. So previously, before COVID, we continued to meet at the Shasta County Board of Supervisors chambers for meetings. It was a central location. It made it easy for the public as well as our partner agency staff members to go to one location, regular basis. And so that allowed for more people to be able to attend at one location instead of jumping around. Prior to that, we would jump around in different jurisdictions, which sometimes made it harder for certain folks to be able to try to go and know where's the meeting, where's it located, so I can share and provide comment about projects that were of interest. And so that was something that had been decided back in 2018. In terms of meetings moving forward, The board wants to, there's a couple things you have to decide and look at. One, the Brown Act says that teleconferencing, if we provide that, if a board member, teleconferences, that information has to be on the agenda. That agenda has to be posted at that location that the board member is at. It has to be open and accessible to that individual. There were some exceptions allowed for a time due to COVID under the governor's executive orders. There are 2 executive orders. However, those have transpired. If the board wants to continue to allow teleconferencing with, especially for board members, we can follow Brown Act. Or Assembly Bill 361 allows from exceptions, but in limited circumstances. So, for instance, related to COVID, the state has still a declared statewide emergency, you can call it, public health emergency related to COVID-19. However, AB 361 also says that you have to then look at, and the board has to pass a resolution and look at a couple of other factors. One, is there a public health issue in the area where whatever the pandemic is, in this case, you just say COVID, that there is a clear and obvious declaration by the state and or local public health that says social distancing is necessary, or the board can determine whether or not for the health of board members and or staff and everything that there's a public health issue, makes a resolution and requires you to each, in our instance, because we don't meet frequently like the cities and county, each board meeting from that resolution continue to participate. That's the current status in terms of teleconferencing for board members for meetings. In relation to some of the comments we had was also allowing the public to be able to participate remotely, okay? Allowing the public to participate remotely is currently above and beyond what's required under the Brown Act. As long as you have a public location and they can access it, that's available to them. You can continue to provide such as the Zoom function, ability for people to listen in and to participate remotely. That's above and beyond. You do not need any findings, no resolution or anything related to that. If the board wants to be able to have that functionality as part of our meetings for now, there is a technical challenge that we have right now. That ability is not readily available for us at either the Shasta County Board of Supervisors or the City of Reading Chambers. And just speaking with staff there right now. There might be a workaround, like if you had a laptop and you had it set up, then you could somehow do it, but it's a small screen. But that was just something we investigated, asked that, hey, what's your current technical capability of where things are at right now? They cannot offer that for anyone outside of their agencies or anything. And there they just have board members participate, indoor staff. But there's no public interaction type of a thing. That is where we're at right now in terms of looking where things are at. There are a couple of bills that are out right now being considered by the state legislature that would modify teleconferencing with the Brown Act, but those are not enacted. Those are AB 1944, which would allow remote board members to participate remotely, but we just have to identify them in the agenda. And then all the rest of the requirements are accepted under the Brown Act. But also requires that you provide a live stream and public participation. If that bill were to pass, say, and be signed in a year, then that would sunset January 1st of 2030. So that is a bill being considered right now by the state legislature, but we wouldn't see anything until later this year. There's another one that is out that's being considered, but it generally follows most of the Brown Act teleconference requirements, but just removes the need to post location of where the board members are remotely and removes those elements. It still requires a quorum of members in the jurisdiction which you're at. So in our case, it's anywhere in Shasta County at one location. But they do go so much further that if that bill were to pass, it would require, if you have remote meetings and you have an issue to the disruption of the Zoom meeting or functionality, you have to pause the meeting. So there are things that we're tracking to see what takes place in terms of how things move forward, what's provided. So at this time, this is just some of the information that we have, and the question is to the board here, how you'd like to move forward. I will add that this was discussed during the SRTA and Fiscal Policy Committee meeting with a recommendation that we consider continuing to meet at SRTA's office. We'll leave it there. I don't know if any of the committee members want to talk about that. leaving that now open for discussion for the board of how you'd like to proceed for meetings.
Due to the fact that gas is $6 a gallon right now, I'm sure the public would like to be able to continue Zoom. Due to the fact that there's reduced parking in front of the board chambers downtown, and there's plenty of parking here. And due to the fact that we have a new parking enforcement officer in Reading doing his job very well, while I attended your meeting the other day at the board chambers, I got a parking ticket. I had my quarters, I got out, I was gonna put them in the meter.
Nobody wants to hear your excuses.
And the sign
Sounds like a
said,
judge.
2-hour parking. It means maximum 2-hour parking. So I met with our director and we're gonna make sure our signage is more clear. I would vote to stay here.
I would second that. I think it makes the best sense. You guys have access to everything you need here.
Yeah.
We have room if people want to come in, and staff can always go into their offices if we have a lot of people from the public, and they can watch. And then when it's their turn to come in, they can come in. I think this is the most convenient, in my opinion, that works, especially since you have access. We don't need additional AV people. You guys have it all handled, and we can always just yell Michael. My TV is not working. I might just yell Michael just to see what happens.
No guarantees. He might
No, but it's worth.
he might not have a warranty on that part for you. Sorry.
That's just my opinion.
I like it here, except for the landscape people.
Yeah, they're here every
Did you
time.
say that the public could attend or could not attend?
Yeah, so we're available right now. So the Zoom meeting, all that information's in
Person.
person. Yes, members of the public can come here in person. Yep.
I mean, generally, I would like to just get back to the way that it was, and get on with life. Less computers, the better. I know there are some times where they are an advantage, particularly on multi-county organizations where people are from Modoc and Siskiyou County. There's some real advantages taking advantage of Zoom, but so I think still my preference would be to be back at the boardroom.
From the rules that you've given out, I can see that no board member realistically is going to telecommute in from home, because you got to leave your door open, you got to post everything, and it's just nuts. We only need 4 out of the 7 to have a quorum. So if somebody can't make it, they can stay home and, it's not going to hurt business. I think that there's an advantage in having a public place to meet like we used to meet in the county. We actually had public coming in and they gave some interesting input. So far, we haven't had any come in here. And the idea of being able to come in remotely, that's a nice tool. Like Dan Little almost came in, his voice came in, but that's about all. I just don't see, I think we ought to go back to the county and then we ought to continue researching how we could get the technology to still let an occasional person from the public come in via some sort of Zoom.
I think we should stay here and, because we've had increased participation from people who Zoomed in, from my experience. And
Not in the last 2 meetings, though.
but in the last 2 years, yeah, we've had more people. You could look, there was a list of people, maybe they didn't talk, but they were there and they were there. You could, when I occasionally had to Zoom in, you could look in
You could see But can't we do that? Can't we broadcast from the?
The problem is you can't do that at the city and you can't do it at the county right now. So if they're
So it's
technology,
delayed, and if we were going to.
So what we've been told is that the county, all they could potentially do is record the meeting and that is it.
Yeah, City of Shasta Lake, I believe we broadcast live during the meeting.
everybody, but they don't have the ability to have the Zoom like we can in real time and have somebody Zoom in. We can't do it at the city if we can only do telephone, people calling in. So I think there's a limitation of the technology at both the county and the city, that right now we have the best of both worlds. They can come in person, which there's the same number of people who could be in here could be at the Board of Supervisors meeting. Until they get a better technology, I think we should stay here. and have the best of both worlds. Lots of good technology, access to their material. Michael's outside the door. And when the county and city get better equipment, then we revisit it.
Well, I always kind of liked the county one, request to speak and you could, I didn't have to turn around to look at the monitor. There's one right in front of you.
Next time I'll try to
Sit there next time.
Yeah,
You can sit here.
okay.
Here's my thought. I want to do away with, we get a Zoom because why? I'm not putting a sign on my door, or leave my door open. But I'd like to get rid of that piece. And from the standpoint of where we meet, I don't care either way. Doesn't matter to me.
So what do you need, a motion from us? Is that?
So, yeah, what I'm just looking for is direction from the board in terms of how you'd like to go for the next year or so and maybe reevaluate. So I'll leave it up to there for direction.
So how many people want to stay here? Okay,
We'll make your motion.
I will make a motion that we stay here and continue our board meetings here.
I'll second.
I think I beat him.
Did you get that? First from Mary, second from Mazzano.
Yes.
All right, roll call vote.
Okay, so this is a motion to stay at SRTA. Board Member Commenti,
Yes.
Board Member Rickert,
Yes.
Board Member Jones,
Oh,
Chair Browning,
Yes.
Board Member Mazzano,
Yes.
Board Member Schrader,
Yes?
and Board Member Watkins.
No,
And what about the
Thank you,
piece
everyone.
about us and adopting that? That's not part of it. We're just going to end that.
We'll just say that this is the direction for the next year is what we can do in terms of this allows for scheduling for board meetings.
But we can't Zoom in.
right.
So, no,
Right.
under,
That's my point.
no, what I mean is you can zoom in, but
But I can't be a board member when I Zoom in. All I can is watch.
yeah, no, you can. Okay, so yeah, if you're gonna be a board member under the current rules, you'd have to follow Brown Act.
Yeah, you got to do all that.
Sit and open your
So
door.
you can still do teleconference fee as a board
I
member.
thought we had to renew that every 4 months or something.
So the AB 361 is every meeting. And unless the legislature says 30 days, because cities and counties meet so frequently as local agencies. For us, we don't. So every meeting you would have to pass a resolution that says certain reasons allow for us to continue to allow teleconference and suspend all of the other requirements. I can check with legal to see how that would be done.
We ended ours for that reason. We ended it in Anderson. We can't Zoom in for the very reason you're talking about, because we didn't want to go through this every 30 days.
Correct.
That's how you got to be able to Zoom in. And that's my point. I don't even want to go down that road.
Yeah, so that's if you're trying to suspend the requirements on the Brown Act. You can still participate as a board member teleconferencing. We just have to make sure we follow the Brown Act requirements. So I'd have to know in advance of a meeting, if a board member was going to, where you're going to be located. For now, the rules.
Not the same thing.
Forget it.
The other one suspends the rules, so,
All right, so we got a motion and it passed.
okay.
And 14 was removed, correct?
Yeah, so on 14, last afternoon, I found out from Steve Rogers from Caltrans was not going to be able to be here to do the presentation. So I'm asking for board, proper Robert's order is to just request that a motion be made to move this item to future meetings.
So moved.
Second.
That was quick.
Repeat those.
First by Joe, second by Mazzano.
Do we have to? vote
Sorry,
on that?
first was who?
Joe,
Mente.
Clemente.
You don't have to vote on that.
Okay, roll call
Correction.
vote
It's,
for that.
it's best to make a motion to move an item that's on there. Yes.
Orders.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, Board Member Commenti,
Yes.
Board Member Rickert,
Yes.
Board Member Jones,
Yes.
Chair Browning,
Yes.
Board Member Mazzano,
Yes.
Board Member Schrader,
Yes?
and Board Member Watkins.
Okay.
Thank you.
Awesome. Motion passes. Perfect. All right, we're gonna move on to item number 15, suggestions from board members relative to potential topics for a future board of directors meeting. Anybody?
Nothing for me.
All right. We will adjourn and go into closed session. Thank you, everybody, for being here.
Congratulations, Kathy.
Thanks.
Yes, your last meeting, huh?
Hey, Michael.
Stop
Video go away?
Your camera's off, but I can still hear you.
Oh, yeah, no, I know. All right, so I'm gonna try, check here. In 5 seconds, you can let me know if you still hear us or not.
Okay.
We're not live anymore.
Yeah. We're back. Michael, are we back?
Yep, I see you. I don't know if I heard you. I thought I heard you over my ears and not the.
Can you hear us now?
Yeah, now we're good. Yeah.
No, no recoverable action direction was given.
Okay.
Nicely done.
Good job, Barry.
Yeah, so I did. I come out of the airport.